Hi guys, and welcome back to Chengi's World. I am so glad you guys are joining me. If you're new to this channel, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, thumbs up, thumbs down. Let me know how you're feeling about Chengi's World. I love you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. And for those who are always here checking out my videos and commenting, liking, sharing, I love you so much. You are my world. I will see you guys on Instagram and Facebook. Make sure you follow me on both my handles, Chengi's World. So today, guys, I want to talk to you about the culture of purging versus transparency, and vulnerability versus exposure. So I really want to get down and dirty with the subject, because I really feel that we live in a world where these things have become twisted. So we live in a world where everybody's purging online. Everybody is exposing themselves. Everything must just be out on the table. We live in a culture of, you walk into a room and everybody knows who you slept with, what's that, the kind of big brother life where cameras follow you everywhere and they know you're down and dirty, and the dirtier your life and the more messed up it is. And because we are into reality television so much, and I'm not a downer on reality television, I think it does great things depending on the content. I'm not one of these people who thinks anything modern or the moving of society is somehow the devil. I believe that anything that brings progress can either be used for the good or for the bad. But so I'm not a downer on reality television. I really feel that it can bring a lot of knowledge, understanding of human behavior, and I'm really interested in that sort of thing, clearly. But I really wanted to talk to you about not getting caught up in that culture, or believing that it is therefore an authentic way to live our lives, or indeed to conduct relationships. I want to introduce the concept of secrecy. I want to introduce the concept of vulnerability. So, for instance, I want to go to the book of Esther. For those of you who don't know that book, it's in my favorite book, which is the Bible. And the book of Esther is an actual book, so make sure you Google it. And that is the story of an orphan girl who becomes a queen of a very, very powerful nation through a process. And I just really wanted to just highlight a specific part of the story. Make sure you read it, because I'm not going to go into chapter and verse, but I just wanted to just touch on a specific part of the story. When Mordecai, her uncle, who adopted this orphan and raised her, they realized that the king, the seated queen, had been dethroned because of her inability to honor and observe the king's desire. And she was dethroned, and therefore the king was in search for a different queen, because the former queen's actions had implications on society, etc., etc. But that's not really what I talk about. And so Mordecai realizes that he's got a beautiful niece, and why can't she be a part of the party? So for a long time, girls were being taken into the palace, and they were being presented before the king so he could find a queen. But this young orphan girl called Esther, Mordecai says to her, look, when you go into the palace, don't tell anyone that you were Hebrew. Don't tell anyone that you were Jewish. And, just keep your history to yourself. And Esther goes through the whole of her journey in the palace, keeping that secret. Now, I don't want us to get into the ins and outs of the depths and the darknesses of secrets, but I want to talk about the principle of secret. And the principle that I'm talking about here is not just hide your secret and keep it quiet as fast as possible, because we all know that everything that is done in the darkness comes to the light. Secrets only have a certain sort of time span anyway. And if you have lived your life in any kind of way, it's always going to come out in the wash, isn't it? There's always going to be somebody to go, oh yeah, she used to be a whore. Oh yeah, she used to be a stripper. Oh yeah, there's always going to be somebody coming out to out you. So in this scenario, what Mordecai was asking her to do was not to be deceitful. He was asking her to withhold information that would not be helpful for the progress going forward. And the point I'm making here is that some of us have a past, and we're about to meet a king. We're about to meet somebody that ordinarily we wouldn't have the right to or the privilege to meet. This guy is decent. He's been looking for a good, decent woman. You're ready to get married. He wants to get married. He's got it all together. He's that high value guy that I've already discussed. And here you are with a past that you're not very proud of. Now you have two options. You can sit in front of him and on your first date, because I've been in these scenarios before and men have done it to me, where they sit on the first date because they think, you know what, if I let everything out on the table and let this girl know from day one, before my emotions are invested in her, that I'm an absolute jerk, loser, whatever, and I've got a horrible history behind me, then I'm being fair to her and she is going to either like me or reject me, and whatever. And yes, that is noble indeed, but actually what you are doing is leading with a past. But what is important is that you lead with who you are, because the moment Esther stepped into the palace, she was not the orphan who lost her family, who was a Hebrew. She was a contender for the heart of the king. And she had to think about what she had to bring in this moment to this relationship right now and forget about her past. She had to come into this situation not as the ex-stripper, ex-prostitute, the one that slept with every guy in town, the one that had whatever. She had to come into this relationship as she was in that moment. And as she was in that moment, she was an obedient, honorable, young, beautiful, virgin girl who had every right to come before the king. A time would come when she would have to expose herself in order for a greater cause to come to pass. A time is always presented to us for us to be able to talk about where we have been, but that doesn't always have to be at the beginning of a relationship. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have, even if you I don't know how horrible your past, I don't want to name anything because I don't want to get caught up in items. No matter how bad your past is, who are you now? And that is that person is who you need to sell to the person right in front of you. That person who you are right now, that's the person that you need to lead with. You need to go in and be transparent with the person that is sitting in front of you, not expose yourself, not purge yourself. Look, a conversation like this. Johnny, I have made a whole bunch of mistakes that I'm not proud of. I am grateful that I have come out on the other side, having learned a few lessons, but I'm not proud of a lot of the things that I've done. And if I could have taken them back, I would. And Johnny would say, so what kind of things are those? You know what, Johnny, I'm not comfortable to share those particulars with you right now, but as we get to know each other better and we get to know each other, I'll be happier to share a little bit more. But I really want to know more about you. And that's enough. That's enough transparency. That's enough to go on for now. He knows that you haven't done things you're proud of, that whatever you're going to divulge later on in your relationship, he knows that you're not proud of it. You're not there thinking, yeah, I used to date married men and I used to, and I'm cool with that. I have got no problems with that. He knows that whatever it is along the way, and guess what? He knows you got a past. He knows you're not a 12-year-old virgin. He knows that you have made decisions, and so has he. So has he. And going into it thinking, if I purge myself, if I tell him that I've slept with every guy in the village, it's better that I tell him than the guy on the street tell him. Because guess what? If it happens to come out that, because I had a girlfriend of mine who, beautiful girl, who made a lot of mistakes. She slept with pretty much every guy in town and her reputation preceded her. So eventually she met this amazing guy, her prince. They are now married, but she felt like her past was going to follow her, and indeed it did. But one of the things that she did is she already pre-warned him. She said, look, I've made mistakes in the past. I've done things I'm not proud of, and perhaps I will be the one to share them with you when we get to know each other better, or you might hear about it on the streets. But I want you to know that I'm not proud of my past. I would have done things very, very differently. and made a lot fewer mistakes. And, you know, I'm growing and I'm learning. This is who I am. And what ended up happening is that certain information came to him about her ways. And you know what? She had so made a good job of presenting who she was in that moment, that she was a responsible mother, that she had been married, that the past was no longer part of her life. She was working, she got her life together. She'd been so busy communicating to this man who she had become as a result of her past, that when he heard, it was a non-brainer. It was like, okay, well, yeah, she's made mistakes. She didn't go and tell him. And then I said, with Johnny, I've slept with 50 men, no, 100, 150. Look, that's too much information. Nobody needs to know that. And when you give and purge yourself in front of a stranger or somebody you've just met, what you are doing is creating an obstacle for them to love you. They're looking for love just as you are. They're looking for affection just as much as you are. I mean, if you've got a disease that they could catch, or something horrible that they need to know, there is a time to reveal that. That is before you have sex. But let them get to know you. You know, let them get to know who you are before you go off announcing that, oh yeah, and I have HIV on the first, you know, date. You know, don't get me wrong, I mentioned that because that's you know, something that's quite major that somebody needs to know, or an STD or an STI that somebody needs to know about before you get intimate. But at the end of the day, why does that have to be the first thing you share when you go on a date? Why does that have to be the first thing? And why do you feel like that's something that has to just come out? Because what you're doing is denying that person the right to fall in love with you. And all we want in life is to fall in love. And when we fall in love, a lot of the things that we thought were not important. I have family who have HIV. I have family that have passed away from HIV. So I come from Zimbabwe. So many of us have that story to tell. And I have some who are married and happy right now with their partners who don't have HIV. So it's not anything to slight anyone. It's to say that if they had led with that, if they had come up front and center with that, then they would have not allowed that person to get to know who they are. Because the disease you carry, the past that you've had, the mistakes that you've made, the horrible things that you've done when you didn't know better, or even when you knew better but you didn't have the power to live better, those don't define who you are. And when you come out in this culture and purge, as Esther come into the palace and said, I just have to be honest, I just want them to know that I'm a Hebrew girl, that I'm an orphan. She would have never made it to King Xerxes. She would have never made it to the throne. Because guess what? People are prejudiced, and their prejudices unfortunately become barriers to their blessing. And that prejudice would have become a barrier to Esther, who became the most incredible queen at the time that mattered most and saved so many lives as a result. Sometimes I'm not talking about deceiving the other person. I am saying lead with the best foot. Lead with the woman that you've become. Lead not with your mistakes. They don't define you. Don't lead with I'm a mess and my baby daddy and then he did me this and he did me. Don't lead with your past. Lead with who you are, because whatever happened to you in your past has made you the woman that you are. And that woman is the woman sitting here watching this video. And I tell you something, nobody sits and watches videos on YouTube, especially videos like mine, unless there's somebody who is on a self-development journey, somebody who is looking to be a better version of themselves with every single day. I can tell you that for a fact, because I'm not here dancing and entertaining you and doing all manner of things. I'm here sharing information and truth with you that only the mature, those who were able to take in truth, can really sustain. And if you're following me and watching these videos, it means you're on that journey, which tells me that you're a beautiful human being, which tells me that you're always one step ahead, trying to be the better version of yourself. And I don't want you to lose out on the love that you deserve. Just because you messed up doesn't mean, you know, I was looking at Donald Trump's wife, I forget her name. I'm so sorry, guys. I should really know it, but I forget. I just completely blanked out. And how they tried to use her, regardless of the whole Donald Trump thing. We're not going to go into politics, but they tried to use her past and to disqualify her from being the first lady. But you know, when I sat there and I thought, isn't that such a shame that people will try and drag your past? The truth is, if she had known that one day I'm going to be the first lady, perhaps she'd have made a different set of decisions. But we don't always know our future. We don't always know that we're going to be married to a prominent guy, or even the guy that we're married to is going to one day become somebody that other people are going to want to dig into our past and look. We just live our lives. But she did not allow that to define her. She did not allow that to make her feel like, you know what, I can't, I'm just going to sit this one out. She just bravely said nothing and went about her life because she knows who she is. She knows that no matter what we think of her, she's the right woman. She was the right woman at his side at the right time when he was going to take power. You don't know who your hubby's going to be. You don't know if you're going to marry Boaz. You don't know if you're going to marry Obed, because Rahab the prostitute had no idea she was going to be in the lineage of Christ and give birth to the lineage of David. She had no idea, but she didn't allow her past to define whether she would say yes or no. And of course, Obed knew exactly who she was, so she got off a bit scot-free there. But at the end of the day, who we are right now, who we are and what we stand for right now is all that matters. So my message to you is, don't allow this society and this world to allow you to purge yourself. Don't purge yourself. You purge yourself to God. If you need to purge yourself, you go find Jesus and you purge yourself and you talk about Jesus and you go tell him what a mess you are. But don't go and rob yourself of an opportunity for somebody to fall in love with you and for you to fall in love because you've got a past that you're not proud of. So I hope this video is for someone. I really believe it is. And I'll see you guys on the other side. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment. I'll see you on Instagram and Facebook. Love you guys. Take care. Bye now.